Good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's webinar. Delighted to showcase invoice scanning for SAP Business One, which is all part of the core enterprise cloud platform. So this plays into a lot of the functionality that we already have around purchase ordering and the entire order to pay process within Enterprise for SAP Business One. And it's something that's used extensively through our customer base for companies that want to enable their staff who normally wouldn't get access to SAP to be able to generate purchase orders, excuse me, generate purchase orders, create orders themselves automatically based on stock levels, and also manage the OCR scanning of the invoices and matching them against those purchase orders and goods receipt POs. So a little bit about Enterprise for those of you who aren't familiar with us. We've 120 people located in 10 locations to try and best service our customers and our partners indeed. 15 years in business as an SAP Business One partner through Milner Brown, our sister company. And we are a gold partner of SAP, so extensive knowledge around SAP Business One itself. There are more than 10,000 users now of Enterprise in 75 countries, and we have worked with 150 SAP Business One partners over the years. So that's a little bit of background on who we are. So as I mentioned, we have been an SAP Business One partner for those of you who don't know us or haven't had the chance to meet me before at one of the various different summits. Looking forward to welcoming the EMEA partners to Dublin this year in June. In 2018, we launched Enterprise as a cloud-based solution for SAP Business One as an extension of SAP Business One, as many of you know. But one of the things that I'd just love to highlight today is that Enterprise itself is now a complete ERP solution for SMEs that's localized for 7 countries, Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia, Thailand, the UK and Ireland, and in March we'll launch into the United States. But we're always looking and happy to welcome new partners to Enterprise who'd like to offer it as a solution for companies that might not just be ready for SAP Business One. And of course, one of the beautiful parts of Enterprise is that it has a seamless migration to SAP Business One for companies that would like to be able to expand into the future. So it becomes a nice stepping stone for those small companies who want to get started with something simple and then grow into SAP Business One. So for any of our partners out there who'd be interested to explore how we can do that with Enterprise, we'd be more than happy to have a conversation with you about that. So a little bit back to the automation. In reality, this OCR scanning solution is about automating reoccurring manual processes. And we can see that it's something that's going to become incredibly important over the next number of years as access to resources is going to become more challenging for different businesses. So many leaders in business are talking about automating different repetitive processes and tasks within an organization. And a little bit later on, Archie's just going to show you how it all works and comes together as an overall solution so that you can see how we can actually streamline that scanning of invoices and how we can actually bring automation to that whole purchasing process, which should, in essence, be able to maybe drive efficiencies and margins ultimately. So the challenges with logging purchases in SAP or in any system that doesn't have OCR scanning is ultimately that it is time consuming. You have to rekey in the invoice, or you have to look up purchase transactions, purchase orders, or goods receipt POs and match them, make sure everything is in line with everything else, etc. So it's a very manual process, even from the receipt of the purchase invoice into your inbox, typically as it comes, and then opening up SAP and comparing one with the other, and then copying it across, etc. It just seems like something that's a little bit prehistoric in today's times. So the time-consuming aspect of it is one of the challenges, and one of the challenges that we overcome with purchase automation. Complexity, ultimately, this is something that is a little bit complex. You have to understand what's happening. You have to understand the pricing, the inventory, the supplier information, how to create purchase invoices, that kind of stuff. And then it is always open to human error, as we know. And as great as we all are, we all make mistakes, and typically this helps to eliminate those. So again, it's a very important part. So the other part of Enterprise that's just worth highlighting is the replenishment of inventory. So for companies that don't need or require the complex processes of MRP within SAP, you can use the item reordering function that allows you to select inventory items for you to be able to look at minimum and maximum stock levels in SAP, for you to be able to look at reorder quantities, etc. And it will suggest reorder levels based on those criteria, and then it'll automatically create the purchase orders for the suppliers that are based in SAP as well. So it's a nice, simple way of managing the replenishment of product within the business. And again, doesn't require a huge amount of training or knowledge really of SAP in order to be able to manage that particular process. And of course, built in the cloud, it's nice and simple to access and to manage. The next step, obviously, as we've generated purchase orders either manually or automatically, both in Enterprise or in SAP, is the ability then to process the purchase invoice. So we can get the purchase invoice coming in from, we can get the purchase invoice coming in from your inbox directly. So you could either create a rule in your inbox to forward emails from a particular supplier. For example, we get, as I'm sure you do, a lot of invoices from SAP. So we would forward those invoices directly into your email that's presented by Enterprise. And that means then that those invoices automatically get forwarded into the central repository for all of the invoices coming from your suppliers. And then it will automatically read them as it's received, which means then that everything is in one place. And then you can just start to manage and approve those invoices and match them up as they're coming through. So it just changes the flow of the process, making it a little bit more seamless than it probably is today, where you're jumping between the PDF and SAP and things like that to process them. And then you can also drag and drop invoices in if you want to, but ultimately the seamless connection from your inbox directly into Enterprise is the most efficient way of managing these. So then we have the automation and machine learning. So there are lots of scenarios where you're not going to be able to automatically just process the transaction. It might be because the inventory items within SAP are different to the ones within your supplier's invoice. It might be that you have different VAT rates set up that based on the ones you receive. Or, for example, it might not be able to read the supplier because the purchase invoice itself is illegible for that perspective. But what you're able to do is start to train and teach Enterprise how to read those invoices. So when you're approving an invoice, as Archie will show you in a minute, you'll be able to automatically assign those invoices to suppliers, to VAT rates, to item codes, for example, and then it learns in the future so you don't have to do it again. So once you start to teach it and train it, it becomes more and more efficient over time. So again, nice feature there that really helps to develop the solution further as you use it more over time. So let's get straight into the demonstration. So I'm going to hand over to Archie because there's nothing like seeing something in action to see how it actually works. So Archie, if you're there, maybe you can pick up the gauntlet and run with it.
Thank you, Morgan. I will just go ahead and share my screen here. What I'll do is I'll share the whole thing. Just give me just a moment. And okay, you should be able to see that here. So there's a couple of points that we're going to be looking at today on automation, all around purchasing. And I think we'll end with the invoice automation with the scanning, and we're going to start with the new reordering element of the system. So in purchasing, it often comes to place where you can set levels of your stock to have minimums, maximums, reorder quantities, and when you hit those numbers, you want the system to be able to tell you how much those are and to be able to help you with reordering. And that's exactly what this does here. So here in purchasing and item reordering, you're able to filter down your item lists with those elements that I mentioned, even further by group or individual warehouses that you have, or even default suppliers as well. What I'll do is I'll press to only see items below or at minimum stock levels. We also could look at those that are committed or those that are on purchase orders. So if you did want to include items that are just on order and they haven't actually left the system yet, you could include that there. What I'll just do is I'll just sort this by suggested reordering numbers to get an idea. So we can see a list of my items that are now sitting at or below the minimum stock levels. And if I've entered all this correctly, I have a suggested reorder number over here on the right. And all you need to do is come in and for each individual item, enter a number. So you could go with the suggested reorder. I'll just enter a different number for some of them. And it's as simple as that. Once you've entered the number in, you can go ahead and press the tick box to select it. So in this case, I've just selected 3 of my items. You can see they have 3 different suppliers. What I'll actually do is I'll just enter one more. And the reason for that is we're including a similar supplier in this case. So what this is going to do for me when I create an order is it will actually create 3 different purchase orders separately, even though there's 4 lines, but one of them will be combined because we have the same designated supplier for them. Okay, we have another option up here. Instead of just creating the order, I can come onto the drop down and opt to save this for later instead. So you can imagine this can get quite long. If you're dealing with very many items, you can save this and come back at a later date. And if you ever want to reload one, just press open saved and you'll be able to load anything that's been saved previously. So you're able to go through and select all your items for reorder at once. And when you're ready to go, it's just a case of pressing create order. I'll go ahead and do this and the system will whir away, as I say, and in the background, it's creating these orders for us. So in this case, 3 purchase orders are going to be whipped up and it will tell me exactly that. I could click in and see the exact purchase orders there, but those have been added to the system. So that's the item reordering for our inventory items. Some of you may have also noticed at the top right here, or the top left, I have the option instead to do this for bill of materials instead of stock items. Now, instead of doing purchase orders, this will do a bill of materials run. If you have bill of materials set up in the system, you can do automatic creation of those items. It works in exactly the same way, and putting in the quantities, and in this case, the goods receipts and goods issues are going to be created for you in the background. So it's a great time saver in terms of items and saving individual clicks and individual creations for orders. And from this, it's going to come nicely into the invoices automation. So far, we've just looked at reordering. When we come on from ordering, we want to look at the actual invoice stage. And we allow invoice scanning in Enterprise via 2 different methods. Number 1 is going to be via upload. So you can just click on the upload button and either select a file or drag and drop it from your computer, and the system will scan it, push it in, ready for review. The other option, which I'm going to show you now, is via a email. So all we need to do is attach the invoice to an email, and every organization has a unique email address that you see up here. It will tell you this in settings. And in there in settings, you can also whitelist certain email addresses. So if you have your own internal email addresses who you want to be able to send in these invoices, or even if you trust some of your suppliers, you can add them to that list as well, and they can just email the invoices directly to, and it will all get sent in. So I'll just send that in, and it will just take normally about 20 seconds to load in. And just while we're doing that, I'll just jump into the settings and module settings just to see where that setup is. So down here in invoice automation, we can see the standard address that we have. This is unique to this organization, and we have a whitelist of which email addresses to accept the invoices coming in from. This is also where you're going to be able to see how many invoices you have remaining. So I have 500 total per month, 495 remaining in this organization. Great, and with that slight interlude, that should be enough time for the invoice to be entered in, and it has indeed. Here we go at the top. The supplier has come in, and we can see over here on the right, it has sitting at a couple statuses. So we have 3 notices and 2 actions. Now, notices are more like alerts. You can still add and approve an invoice if it has a notice, but actions actually require you to go in and make a change. So let's come in and edit this invoice. We actually cannot approve this until we have fixed the actions in here. So what we can see is line 2 is missing item details, and line 2 is also missing a tax code. And we have a couple of references there too. And if I come further down, we can see we have 2 lines that came in on this invoice. It picked up the item code and the description for the first line, and it didn't for the second. I can tell you the reason for this is because I've done automation for this supplier before for this particular item line. So the system knows what their item code is, and it's matched them together. I have not done automation before for this second item line, so the system has seen my supplier's item code, and even though it can pull the price and the discount, etc., it doesn't know what code to match it to in my organization. So all I need to do for this second line is come into edit, and it will just bring up the editing box for this particular line, and I can just match this against a particular item. Let's just select a chair, and I'll select a tax code there as well. The quantity and the prices has already come in. That's fine. So I can press OK, and those are all of my errors. I would be able to add this freely now. What I can also see is we do have a duplicate reference. So this is the reference number also pulled from the invoice document. I'm okay in this case. Maybe this is matching one of my other suppliers. And we also see this is missing related documents. As I say, these aren't mandatory, but you could come in here and tag these individual lines to purchase orders. Now, I don't believe I have any available, and no, I don't at the moment. But if you had purchase orders open in SAP or Enterprise with these particular items on them, you'd be able to tag them directly against the invoice here, and it would link those 2 documents together when you did come in to save. Okay, but I'm happy with this otherwise. I'm fine with the general notices. I've worked on the actions, so I'll just save the document. Okay, that's been updated. I'll give this a moment to come back in, and now that has been cleared, I have the option to approve this, whereas I didn't have that before because we still had those actions to apply. I can now come in to approve this, and this automated invoice is going to go from that draft, and it will be cleared and become a real purchase invoice in Enterprise and SAP in turn. So you can see it's disappeared here from the top. There's a couple of examples I've been trying earlier on in the day below. But this is where you can come in and review everything that's gone there in the past. So what I'm seeing by default are all the open documents. If you did want to swap onto all, or rather than only your own documents, swap onto all companies, you can see those that have closed in the past, those that have been cancelled or rejected in the past as well as those are open. And for all of them, you can see notices and actions. So it's a very, very big time saver overall, and we're finding a lot of use, or our customers are across the board. Not only for being able to upload these themselves, you can imagine where these invoices get from a couple of lines, as I've showed you, onto 20, 40, 60. It's a big time saver from entering lines individually with pricing and discount information for each. It's more checking and authorizing from that will help you from there. And if you do want to give that extra level, you can whitelist the email addresses of your suppliers. It can give them an avenue to email these directly to you rather than uploading them yourself. Okay, so for item reordering, that's going to wrap up the demo portion. I think we'll open the floor up to any questions at this stage, and Morgan, you can come back in if you've got anything else that you wanted to add on top of what I've.
Thanks, Archie. That was super. I think there's just a couple of other things just to mention. It scans in 36 languages, and we can share that information with you afterwards. So, you know, as you would expect, English, French, all the European languages, and also in Thai, Bahasa, and Mandarin, for example. So it is a truly international scanning solution. So for any companies that are using SAP in different parts of the world, it's available for that. And I guess just to reiterate the process, here we have the ability to automatically or manually create purchase orders, send them through to our suppliers, receive the product or not, depending on what it is, whether we're actually booking it into stock or not, and then receiving in the purchase invoice via email and it automatically matching against the purchase order or the goods receipt document. And if it can't find the corresponding data for whatever reason, whether it's different item codes or VAT codes or whatever it might be, it will allow you to manually assign those just the once, and then it'll remember it for everything after that, for all time after that. And I think it'll also work with things like branches and other things like cost centers and things like that as well. So there, and then what we have is the ability then to automatically create the invoice. The original PDF is stored against the invoice, which makes it really easy to retrieve. And then you have everything stored in a nice central location for auditing purposes or for future lookbacks, I guess, on various different invoices. So that in essence is the document scanning for Enterprise. I'm not sure that there's a whole lot of questions, but we have one coming in here now. So in Switzerland, invoices come with ISO payment slip that contains bank payment information. Is your solution compatible with the Swiss local requirement? It isn't, I don't think at the moment. I don't know if it'll read the banking information, because typically that would be something that would be set up against the business partner already. But if that's something specifically you need for the market, there is another release coming out in early April, and we'd be more than happy to explore that, because there are some requirements that we've identified in Latin America around the ability to manage different other codes and other information that they require. So we'd be able to build that in for sure. If you could give us a little bit of support on that to yourself, we could definitely incorporate that into our next development sprints. Yeah, we will share out a copy of the recording for sure. No problem at all, Andrew. Okay, well, look, at any stage, we're here to answer any questions. Please drop us a line. We'd be more than happy to answer any specific questions that you might have around your own localizations, languages, or other processes that you need to do. But Romain, if you do want to get in touch with us, we'd be more than happy to have a look at that specific requirement for the Swiss market. And a big thank you to everybody for taking the time to come along. And as I say, please reach out and talk to us. We'd be delighted to engage directly with you on any specific requirements that you have. Thank you very much. All the best, everybody. See you soon. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Very much.